You say go?
Go.
Go. All right. Coming together this afternoon, Citizens Constitutional Caucus, which is interested in education, activation, and legislation, has been asked many times, what can we do? How can we become active? How can we hold candidates accountable? How can we select good candidates? We've come up with a little program we call the 3C Candidate Vetting Program. The 3 C's are a synopsis of a 3C candidate are: number one, constitutionally grounded, conservative molded, and Christian inspired. And these are the 3 categories that we're looking for. We found this in the founders, and we want to find it in candidates today. I had invited April Major, who is here by my side now, to participate in the 3C candidate vetting, along with her opponent in the primary coming up May 6th for Senate District number 15 here in North Carolina, Dr. Jim Fulgham. He respectfully declined to be here today. So we will proceed with the procedure with April. And to give some idea of what we're up to, I've given to her a servant's pledge, and this is a pledge to the candidate's constituents. And it starts out, I believe, in the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which I think is mentioned someplace in a few documents back at the beginning. I believe in limited government, fiscal responsibility, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the rule of law. And I've talked to a lot of candidates. When you say, what is the rule of law? They don't really know. More specifically, I believe in smaller government, property rights, in self-government, in traditional family values, in equality under the law, in the sanctity of life. The Constitution is as relevant today as when it was written, that Christianity is not detrimental to our society. All these are yes or no questions. April had answered all those yes. Furthermore, I profess that I've read and studied the Constitution and Bill of Rights. The answer is yes. When asking candidates this, I am amazed that the numbers, well, I think I read it a long time ago, but I haven't updated, and so therefore, plus then we send out another little questionnaire. When did you read it? What do you understand about it? What's that? The last time I read the Constitution and Bill of Rights was, and this has not been updated since then, but when was the last time you read it?
It was probably right around 2 years ago.
Okay, about 2 years ago. You remember it all now. Okay, good enough. And I understand that this comes because she ran as an independent 2 years ago for the House in North Carolina. I understand that the oath of office I will be required to affirm is a serious pledge to uphold the Constitution no matter what the circumstances or the consequences. I also understand that an oath to my constituents is of equal importance as they are the first recipients of my servitude. Therefore, we had come up with a little candidate oath thing here to the constituents, not to the government or anybody else. And we'll in a little while talk about an oath and what it means. I know the difference between a servant and a politician. Sidetrack, man, what's the difference between a servant and a politician, April, since you said yes?
Yes.
Tell me what the difference is.
Well, a servant is someone who's willing to place the other's interests above their own. A politician, on the other hand, typically places their own interests above those of the people that they're supposed to be serving.
And people say, talk about a servant politician, I'm sorry, that's an oxymoron. There ain't no such thing that I can find any place. So I know the difference between a republic and a democracy. Give me a little explanation. What's the difference between a very simple republic and a democracy?
Okay, so a democracy is an entity that's ruled by the people. A republic is an entity that follows a rule of law.
A representative form of government, and what they've done, they've dumbed this down in schools and stuff. If you look and you listen to the TV, the radio, read the newspapers, practically everything anymore is referred to that America as a democracy. America, God help us, is not a democracy. We are a republic as of this day. I know that America is a republic and not a democracy. That is the little situation there at that, and we the people would like to know your position, respect the position stated above. What we're saying is, get these copies from us. Take it out, and a little, another questionnaire just goes along with it, but these are the 2 main ones in phase 1 of vetting a candidate. You'd be amazed at the people that I give these to that will not answer them, will not fill them out. One of the answers I get, well, it limits my ability to compromise. Excuse me? Saul Lewinsky was great on compromise. He almost invented a word in a modern term. Compromise is not where we're at. We stand on principle, we stand on convictions. But this starts the situation. We've done that now today to show this, to read these off to you. Now we're going to take it the next step and into phase 2. And there'll be some questions, and I'm going to be joined by some difficult questionnaires over on the other side. Mr. Jeff Lewis from Patriot Coalition here in North Carolina and other places, but home base out of North Carolina. And Mr. Richard Fry, who is an attorney from Kansas, constitutional attorney, well respected around the countryside. So I'm going to start off with this. With a hum. Was that the right octave? Was that the right tone there? That hum, was that the right pitch? Okay. With some of the more simple questions, so to speak, and then I'll let them dig into the different. I do wish that your opponent was here to answer the same question. Why did you decide to run for office? Easy question.
Because I never served in the military, and I was always a career person, and I started raising my family late in life. And so as we get older, we see more specifically what's happening with our values and morals in this country, and I wanted very much to leave this country in a better place than I found it. And I wanted it to be a much freer country for my children and for my grandchildren. And I guess you don't really appreciate that until after you've had children and you have your family. And so for me, because I never served in the military, I thought that this would be the right opportunity for me to be able to marry my skill set and my experience with the desire to serve. And so for this reason, I decided to run for office.
What preparation or training did or do you have to be a servant representative?
So I'm the oldest of 9 children, and I've always been an extremely responsible person. But for the last 30 years, I've been an engineer. I'm an educated engineer, and I am a quality compliance manager for an aerospace company. I just have always felt very responsible, very much the kind of person that has wanted to do things. I'm a doer as opposed to a talker. You will never really see me getting up to talk just for the sake of hearing myself talk. I believe that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so I've always been very much involved in solving problems, coming up with creative solutions, and working with people at all levels of the organization to implement solutions that will ultimately eliminate a problem.
So you're not an attorney,
I'm
you're
not
not a politician.
No, sir, I'm not.
Praise God.
I am a Six Sigma black belt.
Uh-oh.
And what that means, for those of you who may not know, is that being in the quality world, I'm also very familiar with statistics, and numbers have always been one of my strengths. And I use that information, I use facts, to help understand where the real root cause is for a problem. Six Sigma black belts are the kind of people that can understand what those statistics are trying to tell them, and then to understand where there needs to be some resolution or solution to attack that particular issue.
All right. Do you have a campaign manager?
My husband is my campaign manager.
All right. And I presume he stands behind what you do and agrees 100% with what you're, well, 99%.
99%,
with
that's right.
what you're doing.
I'm pretty demanding when it comes to my campaign.
And because of some things that will come up later, I'll ask this question. Does he share the same values? Does he in any way disagree with anything that you're saying or doing to run for office or have anything that would be detrimental to your election?
As far as agreeing, he and I are very much on the same page that this country is going down the wrong path. He follows different people as far as what they believe are solutions to changing this country's course. I'm still a believer in trying to solve problems, I'll say in a professional manner. There's other people who have more extreme views. I think my husband has a real strong knowledge of both types of solutions, because in the end, you never know which is the one that's going to be needed.
But basically, on principles and character stands, you are in agreement.
We are in complete agreement in that
And,
regard, yes.
Neither one of you are doing something the other would say, shouldn't
No,
be doing that.
Not at all,
Okay.
no. And I don't know how you could live under the same roof if you thought that differently.
Right. All right. You will probably be asked to swear an oath if elected to office. What, from your point, what is an oath, and what does that mean to you to swear that oath?
Well, depending on what the oath says, it is a pledge to put your interests aside in respect for the interests of the people that you are representing.
Okay? And when you take that oath, who do you swear to?
You're swearing to the people who just elected you.
And
And
so help me God.
so help me God, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And this is what most, I don't mean to put you in a
No,
politician,
no,
you're not a
no,
politician
that's
yet,
okay.
and I hope you never become a politician, I hope you become a servant, okay? But this is the thing that we get into so much, is the fact that they don't realize or don't care that they are taking an oath to God as well as to country, and as well as to the constituents who put them into office. And I've read enough Old Testament and stuff that when you break those oaths with God, there's going to be consequences. And this country is reaping a lot of the consequences right now of broken oaths. When you break an oath, there is a misdemeanor involved. What is that misdemeanor? If you do not live up to your oath.
It's like breaking a promise or lying, it's perjury.
It's perjury.
Yes.
It is a misdemeanor, punishable by law, and I would be willing to venture a guess that, 90% of the politicians have broken their oath. Some unintentional, some intentional. We need them to understand what an oath is, and when they take it, that they know what they're taking. For instance, you have read the state and federal constitution. Okay. And the federal constitution to me is very simple, straightforward, boom, 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 here's what it is. The state constitution is much longer, much more wordy, much more difficult, written by a bunch of attorneys. So therefore we have, and a problem, no disrespect, Richard, to the attorneys writing. I know you do a much better job than that from your position on the Constitution. But when they come out and they've written that, and we have things in the Constitution, which in North Carolina, which I've asked, and you've heard me say this before, when I've asked somebody, did you take an oath? Yes, I took an oath. Will you uphold the Constitution of the United States? Oh yeah, no problem. Will you uphold the Constitution of North Carolina? Yes, sir, no problem. Well, what about this thing in Article 6, Section 8 says you don't believe in the Almighty God, you're disqualified from office. Do you believe in God? Well, that's nobody's business. I think it is. The Constitution states it. Should it be upheld? Well, we really can't do that. Wait a minute. You took an oath to uphold the Constitution. You either uphold it for what it says, or you change it the legal, regular way to change it. One of two. You have no other choice. Article 6, Section 4. If you cannot read nor write the Constitution of North Carolina in English, you cannot even register to vote. Well, you'll be disqualified. You know, what's the deal? Well, we can't do that in this day and age. But, sorry, it's in the Constitution. You swore to uphold the Constitution. So this is where we're coming from. That they just, number one, don't understand the Constitution or the oath. I'm sorry, or don't care what it says, or have bought into this persuasive way of interpreting the Constitution, kind of whatever fits my needs. All right. How would you respond to an interviewer's question and we're not gonna be going into the interview this afternoon. We have a little thing on how to control an interview, but I really need to go over it quite
Okay.
seriously, on it, where you take control of the interview
Sure.
and the interviewee on the thing. But you ask the question, and it comes up all the time, separation of church and state. How do you answer separation of church and state? How do you approach it?
Well, first of all, our country was founded on Christian Judeo principles. Okay, so the two are very much intertwined. And all of our laws are supposed to be founded on Judeo-Christian principles as well. So I don't know how you can possibly separate the two. The Constitution provides for us to not identify one religion over another. We all have the ability in this country, or the freedom in this country, to practice our own religion, our own faith. That is what was meant by the Constitution and freedom of religion. But this separation of church and state has been twisted. It was words written by Jefferson to help explain what the intention of the Constitution was, and it has been turned around to mean something completely different.
All right, I've got some others here, but I've got the two gentlemen over the right. You've done the
Okay.
easy stuff now.
The easy stuff, all right.
Now we get down to nitty gritty. This is what I call phase 3. We've come through the phase 1. We've answered the question satisfactorily. We have to see if you're going to live up to it. But you answered the question satisfactorily. Phase 2, you've done okay on that. Now, gentlemen, go for it.
So you want to be a public servant? I've been asking this particular question to public servants, to Tea Party groups, family, friends. You ask Councilor Fry. I run into military officers on the Metro in DC, and I'll ask them this question. How many articles in the Constitution?
17? No, it's not true.
That's not true.
No, it's not.
No.
Sorry. 17.
Captain Kenny, Jim Kenny, our debate
Mhm.
opponent this morning, is the executive director of Convention States. He's a retired Navy captain. For those that aren't familiar with the ranking system in the Navy, it's a little bit different than it is in the Army or Air Force. A Navy captain is equivalent to a full bird colonel. The next step up the chain of command is admiral, as a colonel would be general. And whether you enlist in the military as I did, or you go through the officer process, you take that oath several times, just up front. I think before I got out of basic training, I mean, from the time I had signed the paperwork to enlist, I took it that day. Before I shipped off, they had me take it again. When I got into basic training, I had to take it again. Before I graduated, and I didn't just have to, by the time I got through just the basic training, I couldn't read it to recite it. I had to be able to recite it from memory. So they were trying to instill in my head a sense of responsibility of what I was about to undertake a responsibility for. And because the oath was to support this Constitution, and this Constitution was put into place to protect my rights. Now, if you're wanting to be a public servant, I did not come to your home, and it's not picking on you, and this is for the benefit of all the people that are watching, because we're also live streaming this and recording it, and news recording it. You go. It's like the National Press Club here. But for those people who are vetting candidates, you need to ask them, let's start with the basic questions. And that's the question that 99 out of 100 people that we ask get it wrong. So don't feel bad, but you've been warned, and there will be a quiz later. But I'm going to give you a memory hook. There's 7 articles. God gave us one for every day of the week. Now, you're running for a state office, not a federal office. How many articles are in our state constitution?